Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Get It podcast, where we get it every day. Our mission here is to get young people involved in the political process in a way that they may not have been involved before. My name is Roy. I'm going to be one of your co-hosts. Now let me introduce you to the rest of the crew. Let's start with
Chad Hankins.
Hi everyone, my name is Bianca.
And
hello, it's Ryan.
So today we're talking about guns. All right, why don't we open it up to the audience for some comments? Audience?
Okay, so my name is Vanessa. So I want to go back to talking about Sandy Hook. And don't kill me, but I'm going to take a little bit of Roy's side here.
Oh, nice. It never happens, ever.
Never. This is the get first. Mark your calendars. But in a place like Connecticut where Sandy Hook happened, it's actually one of the most safe places. And my fear is that with everything that we do, it goes back to that law-abiding citizen.
Yeah.
What are they're gonna abide by the law, but you're gonna have somebody here or there who's always gonna come out and is gonna do something, whatever they want for whatever reason. What do we do?
Well, sorry.
No. I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think any of us knows the answer. I think anyone who says that they know the answer is completely full of shit.
Right.
But we have to start looking for that answer.
Absolutely.
And I think that, per your concern, like, I understand that. I 100%, as much as I love to just bust Roy in the nuts, I completely understand. I completely understand that feeling of like, I don't want to give up my liberties. I don't want to give up my guns. And I understand that.
Right.
But there's got to be some balance between penalizing, law-abiding citizens and getting control of this out-of-control runaway train.
I'm just
of a
wondering though,
problem.
like, what is step one?
Federal
Like,
background checks. That's step one.
But they had that's happening in Connecticut. But I'm just wondering, like, is that going to be enough?
No, not at all.
And what do we do after that? What's the master plan?
We gotta
When do we
start
get to the
somewhere.
end?
Yeah, the question you asked is where do we start?
We got to start.
I say we start with the thing that 92. I can't say it enough. 92% of Americans. That's mind blowing.
I feel like we should all say that in unison.
Yeah, like if you ever looked at a poll,
92%
I forgot.
I think
if you've ever looked at a poll, there is not 92% consensus.
polls are
on
bullshit. That's why.
anything.
Polls are bullshit. I'm being honest. They are.
Thank you.
They are.
They don't
are.
hold the heart. They
They are. And that's for another episode. But 92%.
I will fight you.
I will fight you.
Because here's the thing. Okay, so you can take a poll and manipulate it.
Exactly.
I know
you
everybody's
poll 1,000 people and then you multiply it by the amount of people in the world or in U.S. and you say 92% of the 1,000 people that polled, so that's 92% of the whole world or all
I'm
of
not talking
America.
about some like
that's
Fox
wrong.
News bullshit poll. I'm talking about
The one that you
What are
said
you
is
talking about? Gallup, the same one that
Gallup
said
is
Hillary was
also
gonna win?
bullshit.
Oh no! Well, they
Did win.
See, yeah, they said.
Can we?
You won
All
the
right.
popular vote.
Gun control.
But either way,
Anyway.
back to this.
Trump is president.
So we're talking about where we start, right?
Right.
So that might be a great place to start because it's a fucking layup.
Yeah.
It's easy enough. Nobody's going to have to lose their voters over it. But what you have is the NRA who speaking of 2016, put a record between the NRA and their affiliates. They put a record $54 million toward a Republican House and a Republican executive branch. $30 million alone toward Trump. Yeah, they don't give a shit what you and I want. They care about who's writing the checks. So when the NRA tells them absolutely not will you do federal background checks,
Right.
you see one day Trump goes on TV and starts talking about, maybe, slippery slope, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we do a background check. I don't know.
Yep.
And
man, I said that.
then he has a meeting.
And then,
Then he has a meeting with Wayne LaPierre,
Yep.
and he comes out and goes, "Oh, well, you can't put in
Exactly.
You can't put in any controls
Exactly.
or background checks."
Yep.
I mean, it's the most blatant bought and sold horseshit, but that would be a place to start.
Well,
To start.
Okay. So I have a couple points. One, I want to say first that the mental illness thing, they say that to take away from the fact that like NRA doesn't want they want
Right.
to continue to sell guns without any obstacles in their way, right? So that while mental illness is a very real thing, a very, very real thing, and I want to make sure and say that because I don't want to take away from how real that is and how important it is, it is a scapegoat.
Yeah.
And so if Republicans are truly like really about mental illness being an issue, then where is that funding in our schools for our kids who are suffering social emotional?
It's a line that
where because there's no funding for it, right? We have, I mean, literally every year. I feel, I won't get into specifics, but there are kids who are suffering, who need support, social emotional support. They need those types of resources that we literally cannot give to them. And so we identify that there are issues with their kids, and then they're, okay, well now we know, but we do nothing about it because we don't have the funding for it. So for me, it's like, okay, if mental illness is really the issue, then put your money where your mouth is and actually do something about it. But it's not what it is it's a scapegoat, right?
Well, yeah, and I mean, and to do you one better on that, so of course it's a talking point. I don't think that it's not a factor. I think that anybody in their right mind understands that, a crazy person with a gun is not a good. This is not a good setup. Except for I do have one friend who thinks that's fine, but yeah, we won't discuss him.
But I think I'm part of universal background.
He's a little off. But
let me defend myself.
One of the so what they've actually done, there was a law in place that was if you were unable to take care of your own finances because of a mental deficiency, you weren't allowed to own a gun. And that was an Obama-era rule that was put forward where basically, like, if you collected a Social Security check, but it had to be mitigated, like the funds had to be mitigated by a third party because you couldn't control your own finances, you couldn't go buy a gun. But now we have House Joint Resolution 40, I believe it was, which was passed by the Republican-controlled House, Republican-controlled Senate, and the Trump administration signed it into law that completely overturns that. So it's like not only are they not acting on their own talking point of mental illness, they're making it easier. They're taking resources away. And then,
that's just crazy.
You want to talk about mental health in America, you could roll into something about, single-payer health care. I mean, goddamn, who the hell can afford to go to a doctor? So you've got somebody who's clearly having a really hard time mentally, and the resources are so limited. Psychiatry is underfunded by any sort of like state interest because it's still looked at as some kind of a pseudoscience. Like, oh well, there's not really anything wrong with you. You're just sad. You're just mad. And it's like the sickness that people can't see. There's no interest in putting anything behind it.
No.
So they're just talking out of their fucking asses when they say things like, oh, it's mental health. Well, then do something about that. You want that to be your talking point? Do something about that too, then.
Right.
Federal background checks, maybe that'll make it put a big old drop, or maybe it won't do shit. I don't know, but we have to take the first step.
Cross that bridge when we get there.
We
then assess step one. How does step one work?
We're still stumbling over the first one.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Alexa again. It's Alexa. So, March for Our Lives, the survivors for Parkland, they made a plan for it. Like, the first step is literally background checks.
It is the most obvious, easiest step.
Yeah. So to kind of clarify, March for Our Lives, the activist group, in reaction to the Parkland shooters that were like a lot of the survivors, they kind of got together, created this plan of action for tackling gun violence, and here are the things that are outlined in this plan.
Okay, so they have the acronym CHANGE. So C, change the standards of gun ownership. H, half the rate of gun deaths in 10 years. A, accountability for the gun lobby and industry. N, name a director of gun violence prevention. G, generate community-based solutions. And E, empower the next generation. So the first is advocate and pass legislation to raise national standard for gun ownership, to declare a national emergency around gun violence, and announce an audacious goal to reduce gun injuries and deaths by 50% in 10 years. Accountability for the gun lobby and industry is to hold the gun lobby and industry accountable for decades of illegal behavior and misguided policies intended to shield only themselves. So it's to re-examine and the interpretation of the Second Amendment. And then 4, name a director of gun violence prevention. So I found this really interesting because I hadn't thought about it, but to appoint a national director of gun violence, to have someone in charge of this. 5, generate community-based solutions. Fully fund targeted interventions addressing the international dimensions of gun violence. 6, empower the next generation. Basically what we were talking before is include them, have a say, see what they're
Register them to vote.
Yep, we're starting to make that plan that we were talking about.
It's whether or not they're going to be listened to, right? Which is why it's so important that we support our young generation.
Before we get too far away from it, there are a few other major proposals that the plan has as well that I think are really great. So for one, national licensing and gun registry, a ban on assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines, a mandatory gun buyback program for assault-style weapons and voluntary buyback for other firearms, a limit of 1 firearm purchase a month per person, the establishment of a national director, what she said, raising the minimum age to buy guns from 18 to 21, and then a multi-step gun licensing system that would include in-person interviews and a 10-day wait period before gun purchases are approved. Licenses would need to be renewed annually, and then a Peace Corps-style program that would pay for young people to work on gun violence prevention for a year in communities and nonprofit groups around the country. And I think the important part of this plan, and they want candidates to back this plan publicly, which is the biggest part of it. So not only do they create a plan, they're saying we want you guys to back it in your campaign, or else we're not going to vote for you.
How many days do they have to wait? What was it? The
10-day waiting period. Roy is having a hard time.
Roy is
Can we get
turning
Roy back over here, please?
I know.
Roy.
Okay, all I heard was a lot of government, a lot more government involved in a lot more things. Just read them again. I mean, she's right. I need to hear that shit again. I couldn't even believe it.
Take a note, man.
Take it.
And we don't have to keep rereading it.
Come on, Republicans have no issue with waiting periods. They don't have issues when it comes to abortion, right? I mean, honestly, I read this. This reminded me of this thing where it was that I saw on social media somewhere. It was hey, how about we treat every young man who wants to buy a gun like every woman who wants to get an abortion? Mandatory 48-hour waiting period, parental permission, a note from his doctor proving he understands what he's about to do, a video he has to watch about the effects of gun violence, an ultrasound wound up the ass just because. Let's close down all but one gun shop in every state and make him travel hundreds of miles, take time off of work, and stay overnight in a strange town to get a gun. Make him walk through a gauntlet of people holding photos of loved ones who were shot to death, people who call him a murderer and beg him not to buy a gun. It makes more sense to do this with young men and guns than with women in healthcare, right? I mean, no woman getting an abortion has killed a room full of people in seconds, right? But it just reminded me of
Talk about pro-life too, right?
Because he shrieked at the idea of a 10-day waiting period, right?
Yeah, I still do. Wait a minute, don't put the two together. I ain't talking shit about abortion today. We're talking about guns.
That's another episode.
Wait, but on this thing, the first line on there was a national registry of guns. That means a list of everybody who has guns and what kind of gun they have. Oh my God, are you crazy?
Can you imagine how many national lists that there are right now that you don't even know about?
Oh, it doesn't matter. I don't want my government to have one.
They already have several.
No. That's like the person, if you don't have to go to a federal background check.
Bro.
Wow, shit. And I'm holding the guns like this. No, I'm not a fucking mamoso.
Okay, but what we're saying is these are weapons, for one. They can do mass destruction, for 2. Number 3, we have a problem in this country. So I do believe there should be there is a national registry of the car that you drive.
Yeah, well, so what?
So why do you think it should be...
Why is it different with the gun?
Why should it be so... What is so different that it should be so private, you having your gun? Why should it be such a secret is what I don't get.
The government should not know where the guns are. In case... And again, I'm going to go back to this. I know y'all don't believe it. But in case the government wanted to take over, what would they do? They would go to the houses with the best guns first. They would take out them. Then they would come for the rest of us.
They don't need our guns. Trust me. They already got them.
No,
they don't need us.
Here's the thing, Roy. I'll take that whole argument of, when the government goes tyrannical, when the fuck it ever matters or ever happens, or define tyrannical.
It could.
Everybody, all these people who are freaking out, losing their shit for 8 fucking years with Obama about, it's tyranny, everything's oppression. Okay, and fucking nobody overthrew the goddamn government. It's not gonna fucking happen. In real life, we have fucking people who can't go to school without getting shot. Like, we have people dying all over the fucking place, and this is happening in reality. So this whole fantasy of I'm going to take over the government with my fucking AR-15 and my 357. Fuck out of here.
And we shouldn't outlaw it so that one person can feel protected when we have all of these students and these people that do not feel protected.
What if it doesn't work?
All right.
Well,
it's a start.
This already isn't working.
Right. What if what we have now doesn't work?
What does it hurt to try?
Right.
Because you give up freedom in order to try these new things.
What?
But we've seen countless times and times again where these laws are put into place and they may not work. They may not do what they're intended to do. And guess what? They're overturned. With the federal assault weapon ban, there was a sunset clause in which it essentially expired after 10 years. It was never reinstated. So it's the same thing, right? If we try this plan, it doesn't work. We overturn it. We try something else. But we're not going to say that we're not going to not do anything
Because of fear.
because of fear of taking away our rights. Right?
No.
And for one, we need to reinterpret. We need to have a consistent interpretation as to what the Second Amendment even is. For
Well,
one.
and I think that back to the registry, the car registry, right? If you have a car, it is registered. Why is that okay, but somehow the guns are sacred and under some sort of holy protection to never
Right.
be touched or known about?
I told you why, because I don't want the government to have a list of who has the guns and what.
All right.
I know you guys think it's paranoid, but it is.
It's outside the bounds of reality.
yeah.
AKA, you're crazy.
No,
Like I
sorry.
said, I'll take it seriously with whatever.
Yeah.
Like I said, go visit Mrs. Weaver's grave. Your right to swing your fist ends at my fucking nose.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna have these kinds of things that you can go out and you can shoot someone from 300 fucking yards and murder them and kill giant swaths of people, people get to have a fucking say. And I'm saying this as a gun owner, mind you. I'm gonna tell you something that it chilled me to my fucking core. So the first time I've shot a lot of different kinds of guns. And the first time that I shot an AR-15, I literally stopped and went, oh, fuck, this is why. That thing is easy on your shoulder. It's lightweight. It's got a high capacity magazine. It's got devastating rounds. It's accurate as fuck. And I'm getting chills right now because that was my first thought. And I like to think I'm a fairly rational human being. My first thought was like, oh, fuck, that's why they use them every single time. This is the most perfect killing machine I have ever held in my fucking hands. That's why, Roy. That's why you put sanctions on. I don't feel that way with my 45, with my 1911. I don't think, oh my God, this is the only fucking function for this thing.
Right.
Yeah, you can't give it up, man. You give up one right, you give up a second, you give up a third.
And we should be able to own bazookas.
Why not?
There has to be a line.
Whether or not you acknowledge it, there
Right.
is a fundamental line there. And I'm not even saying ban assault weapons. Just to be clear, that's not my position.
That's my position.
But I do believe that there needs
Just
to
to be
be
clear.
some sort of
Same.
special licensing involved. It can't just be any fuck who hasn't gone to prison for a felony can buy an AR.
Right.
Like there has to be some sort of let me. I don't know if I've ever told the Applebee's thing on here, but I'm going to.
Oh shit, what's this?
So when I was 19 years old, I got a job waiting tables at Applebee's. But before I could, I had to take an 80-question personality test to make sure I wasn't going to snap and dunk someone's head in the fryer when they wanted their fucking 5th refill of their water, right? So I lied enough to pass that and get the job. Now, every single time that I bought a gun, and that is no short amount of times, I have filled out a 10-question little sheet. And the only question that had anything to do with my mental state or my personality or anything like that was, have you ever been adjudicated mentally defective by the state? No. Cool. Here's your gun. The last gun I bought, the second to last gun I bought, was on the way to the fucking gun range. I went to go pick up ammo and I was like, hey, that's a fucking rad gun.
Yep.
Let me get that. All right.
Yep.
30 minutes later, load it, throw it in with the others.
Hey, do you guys think it's crazy that none of these mass shootings have happened by ladies?
I don't actually.
I mean, we can get into that too.
It's also not by people of color.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a very tight demographic.
Wow, you're right.
No.
Yeah.
Well, there have been like one or two, but we're talking outliers.
As the white gun owner in the room,
Oh shit.
Sorry, Chad.
I was gonna go there earlier, but I was like, maybe I shouldn't. But like, let's be
I
honest.
appreciate that.
Let's be honest. So let's be honest, right?
Yeah, fuck
and
yeah,
the
no.
most empowered group in America, and the people that are fighting
But
against.
clearly, they must not
Fighting
feel that
against-
empowered if they keep doing these kinds of crazy things.
Why empowered? You have to feel empowered
God,
to
no, look,
commit this mass shooting.
100%.
Yeah.
We feel that way. I will
they
say,
must
as
feel
a
like
fucking
so
group-
crazy.
No, it's okay. So listen, we grew up in different Americas. That's the
Yeah.
fucking reality.
Yeah.
And it took me because I like where I grew up, the town I grew up in. white people were still the minority, but we weren't treated like we were treated better. Like, white privilege is a real fucking thing. And I know because I've been the beneficiary of it multiple times. You know, when I was a kid, I was reckless and fucking crazy, and I got pulled over in the middle of committing. I had some extracurricular substances in my car,
What
and
was
it was
cocaine?
Hell yeah!
Oh my
I knew it.
Yeah,
It's
bro.
always the white boy drug
I know,
of
that's
choice.
the white guy drug. Yeah, no, it's cocaine in my mouth. But I had like stuff in the ashtray clearly had already imbibed, and the cop, oh, well, you know, you're doing a little speeding there, son. Oh, yeah, sure am. Well, all right, well, you have a good day. Stay safe, all right? I mean, fuck. Like, it's a different reality. So yes, they feel empowered, and they feel so empowered that they say, I disagree with you, so I'm going to come and fucking shoot you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to shoot a lot of you because I can.
And then they're gonna arrest me peacefully and take me to jail, and I don't have to worry about it.
Take it to Burger King first.
Exactly.
That was crazy. I couldn't believe you got to jail. I was like, how'd that happen?
Yeah.
For real.
No, they don't.
Killed 20-something people.
My
and-
God, yeah. Look at Philando Castile for one. We can go back to that. He wasn't even breaking the law and was shot and killed. But someone who guns down a shitload of people gets fucking. Dylan Roof got Burger King on the way to fucking jail. They should have given him a goddamn haircut on the way.
Wait,
too.
are you
That
serious?
stupid
They
ass
really
bowl
gave
cut.
him-
Fuck yeah, they did.
Wow.
They stopped at Burger King after he shot up a church full of people.
Church full of black people.
Church
Right,
full of black
let's
people.
be exact.
I had no. They gave him.
They gave
Burger
him
King?
fucking Burger King. Like, we
Wow.
don't get.
They didn't even let me get some water.
Yeah, no, I don't even get to the arrested part. Like,
that's
wait,
right.
Now, anyway, for the record, I am a very law-abiding citizen now.
I was like,
At the age of
I was gonna
30.
right.
say,
Yeah.
are you saying you need to be arrested?
For the record,
Sounds like that in medicine commercials when they're like, side effects include.
yeah, 17-year-old Chad was a little fucking wild. 33-year-old Chad's way too lazy to break the law. I'm just too old and tired now. But, you know, it's
But the point is, you got to make it to this point in your life, having made mistakes, having done things, and it not ruined your whole life.
not even affected it.
Not even
I
impacted.
mean, barely affected it. And like, I learned some great life lessons, and I get to, back when I was a young rapscallion,
Right.
I don't have a fucking 20-year prison sentence over fucking weed hanging
Right,
on my,
and you know what? And that's so real. Like, I have personal people in my life that I know that, like, literally, as kids, got caught with something like that, and it has ruined their life and their families' lives to this day. There are people sitting in jail for life sentences. Meanwhile, in Colorado and DC and other states and places, people are doing it casually, no big deal. And we still have people who are paying the price.
And that's what
for
we're
this.
saying. We need a
and not just
national
people,
standard.
but people of color specifically.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got a little bit off track.
I know. We can. As long as we don't vote, as long as we sit on the sidelines and just continue to allow people to make decisions for us, nothing is going to change. Okay. I get that it's frustrating, as we saw, as we heard from our young people who, you know, we want to see change and sometimes we don't see it. But I promise you, nothing's going to change if we continue to sit by idly and not have our voices heard. So register to vote. Let people know that you're here. Don't be ignored.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we want to say thank you so much for listening. This is the Get It podcast where we get it every day. I'm very sure we're going to have more audience involved. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you next time.